What's going on, everybody? It's Catfish on Ice with Chad Minton and Max Greenberg. How's everybody doing tonight? Max, how are you doing, man? How's your
Not too bad, not too bad. It's ready to get another episode in. How about you?
I'm ready to get this episode in. The fan base is in turmoil right now. We're going to have a really good episode tonight, though. We're going to break down a lot of stuff that's happened since episode 252. Tonight's episode 253. But, I'm going to start off by saying this before we really get into it. I'm going to go ahead and pull an audible on this entire Pred season when it comes to myself right now. I'm sure a lot of fans are feeling the same way. Right now, when I was going into the season, I was all about, man, can we actually win the division? Can we actually go deep in the playoffs? All that stuff is out the window for me now. I mean, needless to say, I'm not even thinking necessarily about the playoffs anymore. And this is what the opening faceoff is going to be tonight about, folks. What can we do to salvage this season? What can this team do? Sure, they could still make the playoffs, but I mean, I'm starting to think almost like as a Titans fan, we just want to see the young players develop. That's how we're starting to feel about this Preds team. And luckily, we are getting a lot of good storylines with some younger players like Fedor Svechkov and Zachary LaRue. We just got a new young backup goalie to UC Saros and Eustace Ananen. And so we've got some intriguing storylines going on here with the younger part of the team. But me and Max both got to get into what can be salvaged about this season, other than the obvious of this team somehow surging to make the playoffs. And then, of course, when you make the playoffs, anything can happen. But we're going to really break that down. We're going to look at Steven Stamkos' comments and what he said and what he probably held back from saying. But you can read between the lines. You can tell that the future Hall of Famer is frustrated and, dare I say, in his head thinking, this is not what I signed up for when I left the Tampa Bay Lightning. Yeah. So we're going to really get into that. We got to talk about what other things. We want to definitely get into the trade. We got to talk about what is it with this team, either trading away or waiving. However these former Preds players go, I shared a tweet, a meme, the classic Dave Chappelle meme where he's where people always I'll share it on the screen later if I can find it. But basically, every player that leaves Nashville, whether it's through trades or being waived, whatever, they just seem to revive their careers and flourish whenever they get to their new team. And it's just salt on the wound for a Predators fan who's already going through enough turmoil right now. But you see what Philip Tomasino is doing for the Pittsburgh Penguins. You see what Dante Fabro is doing. I mean, this dude doesn't even look like the same player. I mean, how wrong is it that for how long have I said this, Max? You've been listening to me. You've been on the show for a while. I'm sure a lot of listeners have heard me say this before. I've just always waited for Dante Fabro's offensive game to click because I always knew he had it in him. He's got some offense to his game. And all of a sudden, he's got a little offensive flair with the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah, I'm like you. I'm at a loss. I'm
speechless.
Yeah. This team. It's a lot of questions. Team has to ask. What they're doing with their, what their priorities are. Really, I mean, it's a whole philosophical thing that Barry Trotz and Andrew Brunette got a lot of soul searching to do on. What are we doing here?
It's a common theme. This isn't one or two players that are taking off. I mean, we can go all the way back to Matt Duchene and what he's done ever since he went to Dallas.
And to Ellie Colvin before this regime even took over.
That's kind of when it started, right? I feel like that's when the trend started.
There might have even been before that we're not talking about, but fresh in our minds, it really started.
Kiefer Sherwood. Kiefer Sherwood. How about Kiefer Sherwood?
I'm not going to. I mean, he was a fourth liner in Nashville, so I'm not going to go that far. You can't keep everybody, but of course, of course.
No, but I know you can't. I'm not necessarily saying it's wrong that they didn't keep all these people. What I'm saying is there's a common theme that when these guys go to other teams, their games seem to be revived and they seem to look even better, is my point.
Yeah, it's bad. And I mean, what is it about this franchise that this happens?
I don't know, man.
I mean, I'm like you. I'm just at a loss right now.
We're going to also do our Smashville stat of the week. We haven't done that in a while, and tonight it's not going to be pretty. We are going to compare this Preds team to some of the worst historical teams in this franchise's history, which means you got to go all the way back to the expansion years of 1998 to around 2001, 2002. The difference is those teams at least had a lot of excuses for being bad because they were an expansion team. The expansion era, when it wasn't easy, like it has been much easier for the newer expansion teams these days. So it's kind of crazy that this team is worse, that has started off worse this season than any John Hines team ever started. And remember how much John Hines used to get thrown to the Wolves.
Yeah.
Look what John Hines is doing with the Minnesota Wild as the top team in the league right now in points. They moved ahead of the Winnipeg Jets in the standings. We just saw how good the Minnesota Wild are when the Preds went up against them recently. Hey, the Predators did get it to overtime. Three straight
win, though. I mean,
3 straight 3-2 overtime losses for the Preds. We got a lot of comments coming in here, so let me get caught up here on some of these. It's good to see. Oh yeah, we got Johnny and Mike Twitter both in, and they're having a good little back and forth. What's up, guys? It's good to see both of you. Johnny said, Redemption on YouTube says he basically is just laughing out loud and says, "Chad, you're making me laugh. You can still make the playoffs. Ha 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 ha."
Yeah, basically.
Well, I mean, I'm just going mathematically here.
Well,
I mean, and everyone likes to bring up the 18 game point streak. I think what people forget is not only did they go on an 18 game point streak, but they won 16 of those 18 games. So sometimes when you hear 18 game point streak, it's a little misleading because 16 of those 18 were 2-point victories. And so that made it even more special. So not only is it very improbable that this year's Predators are going to do another 18 game point streak, but it's also infinitely improbable that they're going to win 16 out of 18 games in that fashion. So let me just, it wasn't just an 18 game point streak. It was 16 out of 18, which is incredibly hard to do. So, and then that's what it took for the Predators to surge to the playoffs last year. Do we really think we got this current team has that kind of special streak in them? I don't see it.
They could have won, but not. I don't think to that extent. Certainly,
no. And their hole just keeps getting deeper and deeper. I think Money Puck has their playoff odds at like 6% last time I checked.
I mean, last year, and what people also forget about last year is before this 18 game point streak. Before that, there was a stretch of 16 games where I believe we were 13-3-0, and that was starting in mid to late November. So already this team has fallen behind as far as that's concerned.
Yeah. So, yeah, there you have it. We're going to do our early December battle for the Central Power rankings as well. And my rankings moved around a lot since my last edition. So we'll do that as well. So it's great to have everybody here for a brand new episode of Catfish on Ice as we surge into December. 2024 is quickly coming to a close here. And we're excited to still be with you here. We are presented by DraftKings and Game Time. I'll tell you more about those amazing sponsors. If you're watching on YouTube right now, hit the subscribe button. It helps out a ton. Hit the like button. Jump in the comments right now. Let us know what you think about this current Preds team and the topic we're about to cover for the opening face-off, and that's right now. And that is, how do the Predators salvage their season? And I don't even mean just in terms of somehow making the playoffs. I'm just meaning in general. And for me, I think that Trotz is going to have to seriously check his ego out the door, come to the realization that he didn't make some of the right decisions.
Right.
And yes, he is stuck with the no move clauses, and you can't move some of these veterans. I get that, but he's really got to start pressuring Brunette. If he's going to keep Brunette around, and he's gonna be more patient with Andrew Brunette and not fire him like the vast majority of the fan base wants him to do, then he's going to have to really pressure his head coach to make some serious changes in who's getting ice time and who's not. I think it starts with that. You have to send a message. I love that they're giving Fedor Svechkov the chance. I'm just really worried that they're going to do what they always do. Right. They're going to pull this guy out just when he's starting to click. And I think Svechkov in particular is gradually looking better and better each game he has played so far.
Yeah, and he already scored a goal.
And it was a gorgeous goal. Great feed by Luke Evangelista across the slot. I mean, that looked like some
stuff we have not had at all this year.
Looked like some Alex Ovechkin type stuff, the way Svechnikov set up his stick and blasted that shot perfect. But it was a gorgeous setup by Luke Evangelista, so let's not overlook that. The young guys have looked really good lately. They're like the lifeblood of this team right now. And, of course, I don't want to leave out the captain, Roman Josi, who is leading the league among defensemen in points for the month of November. 17 points, if I remember the stat correctly that I came across today. So we can't really blame the captain. He stepped up his game. He's had some mishaps. He fumbled the puck at the blue line in the one overtime loss, one of the 3-2 overtime losses that the Predators have recently suffered. But Max, how about you? What's something that you could say as the season rolls on? You could say this is what needs to happen to salvage their season. Do you just need to see them make a really strong run, and then if they barely make the playoffs, at least we can say, hey, they turned it around, they made a strong effort, they at least somewhat overcame a horrible start. Where's your mind at with this?
For me personally, it's one of those deals where, obviously, we want the season to get back on track. We want things to go how we expect. We want all of that. But it's going to be hard to do it at this point. But, right now, this team right now has a serious, goal scoring and offensive creation problem in their top six. And it's pretty clear. And we've talked about before, and I've been pounding this drum especially. They lack a two center, a second line center badly. And maybe even more than that, they lack speed. Like they're just the top six really, I mean, maybe people argue with me, but I mean, some of this is hindsight, but I also talked about some of this before the season started. Like you have, again, obviously the two things I said, no second line center, no speed. Didn't talk about that as much. But another thing I talked about, and I know I sound like I'm just hating on this guy, but like I talked about Gus Nyquist's season he had last year. Was he ever going to repeat that season? Highly doubtful. We're seeing it now. The last season, as great as it was an anomaly for him. So you're seeing some legitimate weaknesses in this top six. I mean, the guys that your best players in the top six right now are your older veterans who, let's face it, they're probably not getting better. Forsberg maybe, but like Marshall and Stamkos, I don't think so. So you need really good, I mean, and it's going to be hard at this point because no team is probably giving this up. But like, you need young talent in your top six in the worst way possible. You need some speed. You need some playmaking to just spark something. And we'll see. I mean, Elliot Friedman was on was actually on 102.5 The Game a few weeks ago, and I actually wrote an article on Predlines about this, basically saying that it's true that some guys or some teams just not trading, but it's also a lot of there's a lot of poker being played between GMs, and I don't doubt that Trotz is working. We know we've heard rumors all over. He's trying. Obviously, he made that move for Justus Onunen, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
You are. It's a tricky one.
There we go. For a much younger goaltender, obviously that's not going to fix the offense, but really what I want to see, at this point, I know I'm a little delusional to believe that, we're just going to trade for a great young player. It's going to take our top six. That's going to be hard to find at this point. So I just want to see some younger talent, whether that's, for now or the future, infuse that in your top six. And I really think it makes a difference because it's really not about individual talent in the top six. We know Forsberg's talented. We know Marchessault's talented. We know Steven Stamkos is talented. We know that Ryan O'Reilly's talented. Yes, we get that. But it's about the fit and cohesion. All of them, they're all well in their 30s. Again, they're not fast. And we just need something to balance it out a little bit. I really think that makes a bigger difference than people think.
So look, regardless of, I mean, obviously I would love to see them hit a hot streak and try to replicate what they did last year and make it interesting and try to make the playoffs. But I need to start seeing better chemistry on offense. I got to know that this thing's is going to be able to be kept together into next year because we know Stamkos is going to be around for at least a couple more years. We know that Marchessault is going to be around for a couple more years. We know that the veteran core of this team, aside from Gus Nyquist, is going to be here for a little bit longer. Yeah. At least the top part of the lineup. We know Colton Sissons is getting towards the end of his current deal that's been going on the books for a while now. But for the most part, the veterans are here to stay, which makes it really hard to move a lot of these guys. Ryan O'Reilly, I think he's in year 2 of a 4-year deal.
Yeah, he's one you might. I doubt it.
But the point is, you kind of hit it on the head there, and I'm in full agreement. To salvage this season, we got to find some chemistry. We've got to start finding – we got to find a top 6.
Yes.
If you ask me.
Yes.
There's not a clear top 6 for this team because of the second-line center position that's wide open and can't figure it out. But even the wingers, they can't even figure out the wingers on the second line, much less the center.
It's not a good top 6.
They're trying to – it's like they're scrambling to put together a puzzle, and they're missing like 4 or 5 pieces, so they can't complete the puzzle.
Absolutely.
You're not going to complete a puzzle if you're missing a few pieces. And, I've been seeing this a lot lately, and I know that Ryan O'Reilly blasphemy is probably wrong here, but you got to call it like you see it. Is he truly a 1C? Is he a top line center, guys? Should he truly be the second line center? And did Barry Trotz drop the ball when it came to addressing the center position in his first year as a GM? I mean, right now, I think it's fair game to say Trotzy really screwed up the center position because he signed Stamkos not as a center. He wanted him to play a wing, clearly, because he's not a center anymore at this point in his career. He wasn't playing center for the Lightning towards the end of his stint with the Lightning. So you really hooked your wagon to hoping and praying that Tommy Novak was ready, and they just haven't given him a lot of chances, a long term, and he got injured, so that didn't help anything either. And
he's also just not playing well. I mean, you can say about Ted, he's just not playing well at all.
And in a perfect world, on a truly Stanley Cup caliber team, maybe I should have seen this coming, but is Ryan O'Reilly truly a 1C? He's not playing like one.
I mean, he had the chemistry last year, obviously, with Forsberg, and that was pretty early on. But still, yeah, you're right. I mean, ideally, you have him as your second-line center on a truly good offensive team.
And they're not going to find a 1. I don't think Trotzy's going to find a 1C.
Oh, no way.
In any type of trade market right now.
No.
He's going to have to develop
not one that's going to elevate the team to win a cup right now.
No.
Sure as hell not. No.
You're going to have to develop one, or you're going to have to draft one, and that's going to take a long time. I mean, maybe free agency. I haven't even looked at who's free agents next offseason in terms of that position. I didn't look that far ahead because I wasn't thinking that.
Good centers really don't hit free agency like that. They just don't.
So I think to salvage the season, you got to hope that some type of miracle happens where we find some serious chemistry building at the center position, and this team really starts to gel. And then if they miss the playoffs, but at least we got that to chew on going into the offseason, like, hey, we found something here. We know what works now, because right now we're scrambling for answers. We have no answers when it comes to that, and it's really crushing this team. All of the problems this team's facing right now is stemming from not having your center position figured out right now.
Yeah.
And I mean,
yes,
we were worried about it. We talked about it a bunch. A lot of people did, not just us. We questioned, is Tommy Novak going to be able to handle the burden of being a center for Marchessault and Stamkos? But here's another way that I think the season could be salvaged outside of making the playoffs, the obvious one. I think it could be salvaged if, let's say from here on out, let's just call it from here on out, starting on Wednesday at Toronto, the guys that we did go out and sign in the offseason, can they start playing at least anywhere close to what they were advertised as us getting? I mean, Brady Shea has not impressed me at all.
No.
Marchessault's been a complete disaster.
Invisible.
And I've been so wrong. I was so wrong. I thought Marchessault was going to be the biggest impact.
A lot of people did. A lot of people.
And I cannot tell you how wrong I've been about that. I will admit how wrong I was about that. Stamkos is coming around. You can see we're about to talk about his comments and what we think about that. But he's starting to come around. But I mean, he's he's not playing up to what he would
near
what he was.
Not enough to Tampa. Pat him on the back or anything.
But yeah, so and Scott Wedgwood, the other one that was signed over the offseason, he's already been traded. Let's get into that real quick though. Let's talk about Justus Annunen. And when the trade first dropped on it kind of blindsided me. Didn't see it coming.
I didn't either.
But the Preds make a trade with the Avalanche. It's an interdivision swap of backup goalies. You don't see that very often during the season. Because we know that the Avalanche are one consistently good goalie away from being a really scary team. They're still a scary team even when they don't have good goaltending. But they're desperately, because they're Stanley Cup or bust. The Colorado Avalanche are. So they're desperately trying to find something to give them some stability at the goaltender position, because Alexander Georgiev, who you've always been critical of, Max, so I got to give you credit for that. Georgiev has looked like one of the worst goalies in the league this year. And so luckily the Avalanche are one of those trains that can score 4 or 5 goals like they've done tonight. They've come down from 4-0 down to the Buffalo Sabres
tonight. Did they end up winning it? I got to check the score.
I was keeping an eye on that game before we went live, and they did tie it. McKinnon has 2 goals in the period. McKinnon has 2 goals in the period. What's the score now?
They won in regulation.
The Avs won in regulation.
Yeah.
After being down 4-0 to the
And Johnny just texted me that he might just have become the Avs' #1 goaltender after the game, because Georgiev was in net, and I believe Wedgwood replaced him.
Yep. Wedgwood was called in after the Avs fell behind 4-0.
Yeah, didn't allow a goal.
So look at that. Now the trend continues. Preds players get out of Nashville and they have a revival of their it's just like a curse, like a good curse if you want to get out of Nashville, I guess. But so look, odd trade for me to really look at here, but obviously you love it from the Preds standpoint in terms of they got younger. Justus Annunen is a really quality, high-rated, high upside type of goalie. He's a Finnish goalie. He's joining a great goalie room. As we know, this franchise's problem has never been goaltending. So it's like, okay, yeah, we have a goalie now. We have a good backup goalie. That's great. But what are we doing to fix the offense? But yeah, I like the trade. You get a 6th-round draft pick as well from it for 2025, so a little more draft capital. But I like the trade. At first, I was kind of like, doesn't really mean much to me, but I do like it. It's growing on me.
Yeah,
I've watched a lot. I've watched a bunch of highlights on Annunen in the past couple of days to get myself acquainted with him. I love his style. And they just kind of seemed to give up. The Avs just kind of decided that they wanted to get more of a veteran presence in there on top of having a young goalie who still needs some development. So the Preds are in a much different position where they've got UC Saros for 8 years. So they can afford to have a young project goalie backing up Saros. That's actually the perfect situation. Yes. The only funny part about this and the irony of all this is they already had a guy in Yaroslav Askarov who could have been that, but Askarov wanted to be a starter, and he had a much bigger ego, and we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about that because we've already talked about Yaroslav Askarov ad nauseum when it happened. So we're not going to really go down that rabbit hole again. But overall, I like the trade. It's a little bit of good news and something good in the midst of pretty much everything that can go wrong for this franchise has gone wrong this season. So I will say that this trade can be good. This can be a good long-term future trade.
No, I think so too. And Barry Trotz, I haven't seen all the comments from his press conference today, but I did see a tweet from Brooks Bratton that said apparently Barry Trotz was trying to get him when the Preds traded Yakov Trenin back at the last trade deadline, and they got him now. So there you go.
Yeah, and so that's good. I like it. We'll see when he makes his first start. You would think it's going to be coming up with this back-to-back. I'm about to put the upcoming schedule up on the screen for our YouTube viewers and Facebook, the next 4 games. The Preds are going on a little mini Eastern Canada road trip starting off Wednesday at Toronto. Yep. So I don't think any game's ever easy in the NHL, so you can never say, oh, this is a tough part of the schedule. They're all hard. And the way the Predators are playing, I wouldn't give them a chance. I'd be worried if they were playing that one of the AHL's best teams right now, much less any NHL team. That's how I feel about the Predators right now. But let's put it on the screen here. But we're going to probably see Ananen make his Preds debut in this upcoming backup either Wednesday or Thursday.
Probably Thursday because Saros just had 4 full days off, 4 days off.
Yeah, but this is another interesting little road trip. I think it's best for the Predators to be on the road right now. I don't know about you, but they need to block. They need to block out the noise. They need to get away from home. They need to. The fan base is not too pleased with them right now to begin with, so it's probably a good thing that they're not at home right now.
Yeah,
just to be deadly honest.
Yeah,
but let's put it on the screen here. The upcoming schedule, the next 4 games. They just played a lot of games in a short amount of time recently. So this team's beat up. Let's talk about this too. So there's the upcoming schedule. Your Wednesday, you're at Toronto. Thursday, you're at Montreal on the back end of a back-to-back. I think that's a great spot for Ananen to make his Preds debut against the Canadiens. Then Saturday, you're at Ottawa. So you got 3 straight road games in Eastern Canada, followed by Tuesday, December 10th. So you get a couple days off. Then you play at home against the Calgary Flames. So that's your next 4 games coming up for the Preds. Also wanted to talk about the fan base is super upset about that optional practice and how none of the veterans showed up. Did you hear about that, Max?
Oh, yeah, I heard.
So I guess it was an optional practice, and the players who attended were all the younger players on the team. Eesh. And fans, predictably so, were not happy about that. But let me just say this. It's a bad look. You do wonder why they're not there, but it's a very common occurrence that veterans do not go to optional practices in the middle of a season because it's a maintenance day. They're trying to keep their bodies fresh. The Predators did just come out of a brutal stretch of hockey where they played a lot of games in a condensed amount of time. So I guarantee you a lot of those veterans are taking maintenance days. Their bodies are a lot more beat up than some of these younger players are at their point in their careers. I get that the optics are bad. I understand that this team could use every practice they could possibly take right now, but I do think we're getting a little crazy over nothing here when it comes to an optional practice.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say people are getting crazy right now. It's bad, and I don't blame them for being upset.
No, I don't blame them either. And like I said, the optics are awful.
Yeah.
You would love to see in a perfect world those veterans like Forsberg, O'Reilly, Marchessault, all of them. You would love to see them at that optional practice and saying, guys, we're playing like crap and we got to get better. And here we are. But the truth of the matter is these guys' bodies are breaking down. It's a 82-game long, grueling, physically grinding season. They're not going to show up to every optional practice, no matter how bad the team's playing. They're going to rest their bodies. They're going to take care of themselves. They're not going to risk. You don't know what kind of injuries they might be nursing that isn't even listed in the injury report. They're not going to risk further damaging themselves. They need to be fresh for the game. I just don't think it's as big of a deal as the optics suggest it is.
Yeah, you're probably right, honestly.
Let's see. Johnny is commenting on it. He says, at least in previous seasons when Forsberg took optional skates off, he was performing in games. He has no excuse, barring injury, not to go to optional practices.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I get it. And I would love to, I already mentioned this on Twitter. I said if I was in the local media and I had the ability to ask players questions, I would love to get an answer either from Andrew Burnett if he wanted to answer for the players, or if I could ask some of those players, some of those veterans myself, like, what's the deal with optional practices? What's the reasoning for not showing up? I don't know if any of the local media got the chance to ask that question, but I would love to know, and I would love to hear the response to that.
Yeah. But
that's just that's kind of my suspicion is that would be the cookie cut politically correct answer would be it's a grueling 82-game season. Guys are taking maintenance days.
Yeah, probably.
But anyway, so the fan base right now is finding every reason to really come after this team right now. And this team certainly deserves it. So I'm not going to say that the fans are wrong in doing that at all. What about the Steven Stamkos comments, Max? What are we reading too much into it? I feel like he wanted to say a lot of things that he didn't say. What he didn't say, and what he probably held back on was probably more telling to me than what he actually said.
Yeah, I mean, he literally said, I have some thoughts on it, and he seemed at a loss for words. I mean, that pretty much tells you, I mean, you never really know, but to me, that's either saying he doesn't like the coach or he thinks he's not getting enough help. He doesn't have the right teammates to help him out. I mean, that's pretty much how I read it.
And credit to Robbie Stanley of 102.5 The Game for eliciting that response. So good job on his part. I want to make sure I give him credit for that. But here's what I think about Stamkos. Look, he's not playing up to his level of play that he's capable of either. But at the same time, I'm sorry, a future lock Hall of Famer of 16 years doesn't become a mid-level player over one offseason. And this is where I start wondering, is it truly Andrew Burnett's system? Is it that it's not working for this collective set of guys? Maybe Andrew Burnett could coach somewhere else and his system would be perfect. But this what they call a very complex system that's hard to pick up for a lot of guys. Is it something to be said that it's not the players, it's the system? Do you think, I mean, maybe Stamkos wanted to, he's obviously not going to throw the head coach under the bus. He's not going to do that. But is it that the players are frustrated right now because what they're trying to implement and what they're trying to do just isn't working?
I think it's, I mean, whenever you, again, I say this all the time, whenever you have seasons like this, it's not one thing or the other, it's a lot of it. Andrew Burnett could definitely, retweak his system a little bit to, fit what he has. And I thought he did that well last year, considering he had a team with not, nowhere near as much talent as this one. Let's get that right.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I mean, I really do think that a lot of it is, not, I mean, and we've talked about this too, not having the right players to execute his system, honestly, because we say a lot of it is speed. And, as we say, the top six has a lot of
slow.
Yeah, they have a lot of weaknesses in the top six. And one thing, and I'm not fully letting, and let me make my opinion. I've said this before, and let me say it clearly about Andrew Burnett. I really don't think he's the problem, although I couldn't really blame Barry Trotz if we fired him now just because, we need to change somewhere. But, I don't.
And it's usually the head coach that goes first, especially in the NHL. The NHL fires head coaches like we change our underwear around here.
But
so, I mean,
But I do think that, the lack of, the lack of players to execute the system is a problem. I think, again, there's definite weaknesses in the top six. And one thing, when I was listening to the show on 102.5 The Game when Elliot Friedman was there, and Friedman didn't say this, but Derek Mason, who's on the show, said this, and I kind of agree with it a little bit. I mean, I would say a little bit. I think there's two sides to it. Number one, like I said, I think Andrew Burnett could tweak his system a little bit to suit the players he has, but also Derek Mason said, kind of like, why should he have to do that? Because the players came into this, like Stamkos, Marchessault, and Brady Skjei came into the system. They knew what they were getting into. They knew what they had to do, and now it's not going well. So it's like, why are you complaining that it's not going well? You knew what you're doing, so go. Again, it's not one person or the other. It's everybody here. Andrew Burnett could do a better job, maybe, adjusting a system, but. And again, we don't. It'd be hard I think
we don't really know. Again, we don't really know what Stamkos is alluding to because he didn't elaborate. He kind of checked himself. I mean, for all we know, he's upset about the guys playing around him. Other guys aren't playing up to par, and it is a team game. Hockey is not a one-person sport. We know that.
No.
Unless you're the rare Connor McDavids or the Nathan McKinnons of the world and a few other guys, guys don't just take over hockey games by themselves. You need a cohesive team that's all stepping up and executing. And that's ultimately what this team is failing at. It's executing. It's not that they're not doing a lot of the things the right way. It's not that they're not showing us a lot of things, but this team this team is fumbling the football, to use the lack of a better term from another sport. They're fumbling. They're basically doing the equivalent of fumbling at the 5-yard line going into score multiple times in games, which is why they're stuck at 2 goals per game right now for the past 3 games. They fumble away the game in clutch moments constantly this season, whether it's making the extra pass when they could have just made the goalie make a save, or whether it's getting a 5-on-3 power play and you can't even enter the zone and get set up. Things like this where you're not executing. I think that's really what Stamkos wanted to elaborate on, is guys are not executing. And that's something that's not the head coach's fault. The head coach cannot go out there, hold the hockey stick for you, and make you do the right things in the clutch moments. So, like you say, Max, it's a little bit of everything. The head coach has a lot to blame because he is the head coach, and that's the person who usually gets axed first, because you can fire a head coach way easier than you can fire players. Yeah. It's just that simple.
And I'll say, last thing I'll say on this is, and there's been a lot of discourse, what does this team need to do to change? And could this team do better under another head coach? I don't know. The hill I will die on, though, is that I don't think there's a coach right now who's going to make this team a contender. No. If you want to really change this team, start adjusting the roster. That's where I'm at right now. That's what I will defend. And
if you really also, and I said the same thing when we were on the Fire John Hines bus before he got fired. I said the same things on this exact podcast. You can go back and listen to those episodes from way back when. Say the same thing then I said now. I'm not usually a huge fan of mid-season firings of head coaches unless you really have a plan of who you want and you're firing that head coach.
Right.
So you can go get the guy you want before he goes and signs with another team. Well, Jim Montgomery wasn't out there for very long. So if you really wanted Jim Montgomery, he got snatched up quickly by the St. Louis Blues. So, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it's there's not going to be a better head coach out there.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh, you got to call up Carl Taylor. That's not going to happen in the middle of the season. They're not going to call up Carl Taylor from the Milwaukee Admirals and shake up their prospect pool and shake up all the good things that squad's doing. If you go get Carl Taylor, you do it in the offseason.
And another question I ask is, how many more coaches can we get fired before we just say, you know what, maybe the team around it's just got to be better?
I mean, I really think that Barry Trotz is very loyal, maybe to a fault, to Andrew Burnett. And I don't think Andrew Burnett's going to get fired this season, no matter how bad it gets. I really don't.
I don't think he should, but
I could see him maybe getting fired in the offseason if, let's say, this team is close to last place when the season ends. Like, let's say they're down there with Chicago like they are now when the season ends, and this team doesn't make a rally and doesn't show a vast improvement like we're hoping they can do to salvage the season at least. Then I could see Barry Trotz saying, you know what, I gave you a full 2 years. I gave you all of year 2 to try to right the ship, to try to turn things around, to try to prove that the first 20 or 30 games was kind of a fluke and you've got this team clicking now. But that would be the time to fire Andrew Burnett. I say you fire him in the offseason. And then you have a whole offseason to find the head coach you want to bring in. You have a whole training camp to have that head coach. I think if you make the switch now, some people would argue, well, no, you fire him now so that this season's a loss caused anyway. So fire Brunette now, bring in a guy. But it's like, who's out there? Like you said, Max, who are you going to get?
Yeah.
Who are you going to get?
Yeah. And, I mean, people didn't like how the John Hines hiring was handled after Laviolette got let go. So – don't want that again.
And that was a midseason firing. That happened in January. Like John Hines joined the team first week of January, and we all at the time felt like that was a rushed hire. We were like, why didn't call up an interim head coach? Is what I was thinking they should have done at the time. Let the interim head coach. I can't even remember who it would have been that time.
Yeah,
Johnny, where are you at, Johnny? Help me out here. But yeah, I was thinking go interim route and then hire who you want in the offseason. But either way. Another thing I want to say is that could be talking to kind of a link to Stamkos's comments is, and you just touched on it. This team is so slow. I mean, this team is like watching quicksand. It's like it's crazy. I mean, I feel like for large chunks of these games, the Predators are just trying to tread water. They're just trying to keep their head above water and trying to keep from drowning. And meanwhile, you got UC Saros standing on his head, doing everything he can to keep these games close. And I mean, you got UC Saros to thank for why the Predators at least got points in each of those 3-2 overtime losses. I mean, that just has to really sting for a goaltender. I don't care how chill of a guy you are, like UC Saros is. He's an ultimate team player, but it's got to really sting for him, hurt his confidence, if anything, that for 3 straight games he held very quality, high-scoring teams. The Minnesota Wild's a high-scoring, high-impact offensive team, and he held that team to 2 goals in regulation. Yeah. I mean, it's killing you right now. It really is. And if the Preds can just get some goal support for Saros, then this season looks so much different. If they're even just a little bit better at 5-on-5 than they've been, just a little bit better. They don't even have to be world beaters. They don't even have to be top 10. But if they could just be a little bit better, we'd be talking about a drastically different Preds team in terms of where they'd be in the standings. But this team is incredibly slow. They do the dump and chase. And you know what? Teams who dump and chase are teams that can't match the speed. They dump and chase, and they hope they can chase the puck in and win puck battles. This team's not built to dump and chase.
Brunette's system's not built to dump and chase.
I mean, so many times during games, the Predators are having to dump the puck into the zone because they need a line change so bad.
Yeah,
they'll spend 2 minutes defending their own zone, and you've got skill players out there who had to defend the entire shift. By the time they finally get the puck back, they can't attack. These guys can't attack because they've been attacked. They've been attacked for 2 minutes. So by the time Forsberg gets the puck back, he has no energy, no gas in the tank to attack the net. So he has to dump the puck, and the Preds have to do another line change. I mean, it's just I'm going to have nightmares if I have to see Luke Schenn try to take it on his own and enter the offensive zone one more time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not good when Luke Schenn is trying to take the offensive zone entries.
And I will say, I've seen him more involved in the offense this year, but it's not what you want to see.
Yeah, I need to stop seeing Luke Schenn shooting up prayers from the blue line that usually get blocked and go the other way in transition. Yeah. I mean, those pucks almost never have a chance to go in. But we're actually about to do we're going to go rapid fire. What Preds players deserve for Christmas this year, and it's all going to be hockey related, what they deserve for Christmas this year. So stay tuned for that. But first, let's tell you about Game Time and the current offer we have. Nothing beats going to your first hockey game, that live experience, smelling the ice, feeling the chill of the hockey arena, hearing the pucks and hearing the hockey sticks hit the ice, seeing the speed of the game in person. And that's where Game Time can come in for you, for your first-time hockey fans who've never been to a live hockey game. They're out there. There's plenty of hockey fans out there who watch the games on TV, but they haven't went to their first hockey experience, live hockey experience. So the Game Time ticket app is there for you, and not just hockey, but all sports, concerts, live theater shows, comedy shows, whatever you're into that needs a ticket, Game Time can be there for you. I'm on the Game Time ticket app right now. You can set your location to where you're at. You can pick a city, use your current location. Let's go to Nashville and see what is coming up here in December that is being featured on the Game Time app. It's so easy. You just scroll down, you pick Nashville. I'm in Tampa right now, but right now, popular events. You got Casey Musgraves coming to Bridgestone Arena. Tickets as low as $35. How about Bengals at the Titans on Sunday, December 15th? Tickets as low as $23.
No way.
You click on the event, it shows exactly all the seating and the ticket prices. And of course, if you use our promo code we're offering for you with the Game Time app, which is so user-friendly, as I just showed you there. If you do that and you get the $20 off your first purchase right now with the Game Time ticket app, promo code THPN. So they got some awesome features right now. Curated deals make it even easier to find the best price on great seats. You got the super deals, seat views before you buy, lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and so much more. My favorite feature is the customize your spot, which is really helps you figure out what it's going to look like while you're there. It's an immersive experience on the Game Time Ticket app. Some other awesome things with your customize your spot feature is the Game Time picks. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. You got all-in pricing. Seat views. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, so you know where you're sitting and what your seats are going to look like. Lowest price guarantee. I just showed you $23 for Titans tickets right now if you get on the Game Time app. And do the math with our $20 off promo code for first-time users. There you have it right there. Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's Game Time. It's the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. Filter only incredible deals on great seats with Game Time picks. See the view from your seat on your phone before you buy. All in pricing, showing the total cost up front. No junk fees, none of that like you see with some of the other guys. It's literally the cost up front is what you're getting. And buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. So check it out. I love the Game Time app. I've been using the Game Time app way before they jumped on as sponsor of this show. It's my favorite ticketing app. It's the most easy, user-friendly one out there. So take advantage, sports fans and comedy fans, theater fans, concert fans. Game Time's there for you. Let's get it rolling, Max, with our Preds Christmas gifts. And I've got my list here on my phone, and I'm going to hit it rapid fire. You've already seen some of my picks.
Yep.
These are all hockey related. And let me just preface this by saying I did this rapid fire when I came up with my list. The first thing that came to my mind on each of these players is the answer I came up with. All right. This wasn't some long drawn out research project for myself where I spent 30 minutes on each player to figure out the right answer to this. So take these answers with that in mind. Let me start with Philip Forsberg, and then Max, jump in if you have a different idea for a Christmas gift, or if you agree with me when I say this one.
Okay.
Let's start with one of the top players. Let's start with Philip Forsberg. What do I think Philip Forsberg deserves for Christmas this year? Another 40-goal season would be really cool. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping Forsberg gets for Christmas this year. Is that we gift him a 40-goal season by the end of the year. Probably not going to happen with the way this team's scoring goals right now.
Most likely not.
That's like me asking for a speedboat for Christmas this year. It's probably not going to happen. All right. How about Jonathan Marchessault, Max? Do you have one for Jonathan Marchessault? Let's see if we're similar.
A spark?
A spark. I said a better shooting percentage.
Yeah. Like that
this whole team needs a better shooting percentage, but Jonathan Marchessault in particular needs a better shooting percentage. What is Jonathan Marchessault's shooting percentage this season? It's got to be way down there. Let's see. I think the Predators are still the worst shooting percentage team in the league right now, too, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. 5.1% shooting percentage right now for Jonathan Marchessault. You're talking about a guy who scored 42 goals last season, people. 42 goals last season, and Jonathan Marchessault with the Predators has a 5.1 shooting percentage. The only forwards, I don't even count defensemen because a lot of the guys lower than Marchessault on this team right now are not big-time offensive producers. So Luke Evangelista has a 4.9 shooting percentage right now. Alexander Carrier has a 4.8 percentage, but again, he's a defenseman. Luke Shen, a 3.8. Not worried. He's not an offensive player. Brady Shea has a 3.7 shooting percentage. There's one forward on the team, currently on the team right now, that has a 0 shooting percentage, and that's Mark Jankowski. But yeah, so you're talking about Jonathan Marchessault's down there with defensemen like Luke Shen and Alexander Carrier, and Mark Jankowski among the team's worst shooting percentage. So, yeah, that's what I'm asking for Christmas for Jonathan Marchessault is a better shooting percentage. Let's go with Steven Stamkos. I think some people can see where I'm going with this one. Steven Stamkos, I want to get him a second-line center.
Yeah, I can for
Christmas.
I can maybe for my Christmas he can get a second-line center for my sake so I can watch a better top 6.
Again, probably out of the realm of possibility. These are some pretty unrealistic Christmas gifts I'm asking for these guys right now. What about UC Saros? I think this one's pretty straightforward. What would you say UC Saros deserves for Christmas, Max?
What you said, more goal support.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Is that so much to ask? Can we get my man some like 4 or 5 goal nights so that he can relax a little bit, not have to stand on his head and hold a team to 2 goals in regulation every night? And today's NHL, you know how hard that is to hold a team to 2 goals in a game? Come on now. Give the man some more goal support, please. And, oh, yeah, did you see we have 2 Juices now on the team?
Oh, yeah.
Because Eustace is also named Juice. So now it's called Juice times 2 is what the official Preds social media account said what they're going with. But I actually liked what one of our friends of the show, Predhead, she's in our Fantasy Hockey League. Her idea was gin and juice for the duo.
That is a good one. I did see that. I also saw they were the team was talking about they were gonna, I forgot what it was, but they were gonna call Saros Big Juice and call Onanen Little Juice, which is
I did see that. That's good too. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, let's go down the list here. How about Gus Nyquist? I'm gonna say a trade to another team.
Yeah, I've been talking about that.
And I'm pretty sure that Nyquist would love that. When he sees all these other guys showing out once they get out of Nashville, Nyquist is like, oh, yeah, I'll take one of them trades.
Yep.
All right, what about Zachary Leroux? Mine was commitment from Barry Trotz. Don't yank him and send him back to Milwaukee. Don't you?
I want to see a big Zachary Leroux hit. Like, I want to see him just absolutely obliterate someone.
You want to see a right from the fan base? If they send Zachary Leroux back to Milwaukee for some inexplicable reason, oh.
No, I want to see him absolutely just plow someone.
So I'm going commit. All right, that's good. Oh, maybe win his first fight? Yeah, that'd be a good one. All right. How about Fedor Svechkov? I'm going to go patience from Andrew Brunette.
Yeah.
Again, Andrew Burnett's getting a lot of flack because he never gave Tomasino a chance to thrive. He's not giving Juuso Parssinen a chance to thrive. They look at Brunette as not being committed to the younger players, but John Hines got accused of that same thing. But I want to see patience from Bruno because I think Svechkov is gradually getting better and better, but you're going to have to be patient. You're going to have to let him make some mistakes. You got to let him grow. Him grow. All right. Luke Shen. What do we want to get Luke Shen for Christmas?
You said a couple of lucky goals.
Yeah, because that's what the guy does. That dude just like fires at anything, and they never have a chance of going in, hardly ever.
I'll say the most unrealistic thing for Luke Shen. I wanted to get for Christmas more speed.
I was trying to think of a way to frame that. Like, what can we give Luke Shen that would make him faster? Can we give him little rockets on the back of his skates? Is that allowed? Is that against the rules? Like, maybe we can put little like rocket boosters on the back of his skates.
Like they do in those Mario
I'm changing my gift.
They unlock the mystery box and just a permanent mystery box for Luke Shen.
I'm changing my gift. I like that. Little rocket boosters for Luke Shen's skates so he can skate a little faster. Jay Fresh, he shared the fastest and slowest skaters this season so far, and he had a bunch of different metrics going off of a speed burst, average speed burst per 60 minutes. And as you would expect, Luke Shen is among the 5 slowest defensemen in the league this year. So save you the suspense on that one.
Yeah, no surprise.
All right, let's roll down the list here. Alexander Carrier. I'm going to go win a fight because I had struggled with Carrier. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to get for Carrier because, like Carrier is one of those players. He's so easy to overlook and forget about. He's not bad in any way, but he's also doesn't stand out a lot of the times unless you're just really focused on him. But he blocks a lot of shots. He plays hard in the dirty areas. he's a good puck mover, but I said I still remember the time he just got completely annihilated in like the one and only fight he's ever been in.
And it actually injured him.
Yeah. So if he somehow he's got a little testiness to him. Like he'll get into some scrums every now and then, but he's obviously not a fighter.
Right.
But if he does ever find himself in that situation ever again, I would like for him to atone for the one time when he did get beat badly, and maybe he can win a fight. That'd be fun for him. All right. Let's go with the captain, Roman Josi. What was your answer for? Did you come up with one for Roman Josi?
I believe I texted it to you. It was let me go back.
Oh yeah, you did.
It was it was teammates turning around like he has.
Yeah. Mine is the fountain of youth.
Yeah.
Because right now he seems like he's finding it. He's on this little like hot streak where he's kind of looking like vintage Josi here a little bit, like Norris Trophy level offense here from Josi, despite the team around him. So that's a good point you bring up, because even with all the offensive woes, Josi, his offense is popping off the page right now. He had a great month of November. He's putting goals in the net. He's playing aggressive, but he obviously needs help around him. But I'm going to go fountain of youth because I got to hope that he can sustain this for the rest of the season. I could totally see Josi hitting another drought because it's just father time's undefeated, people. Yeah. But let's go with Tommy Novak. We both went with more confidence.
Kind of similar to Marshall, just a spark, something to get him in the right direction.
I think his confidence is shaken a little bit. I don't see a confident player out there
ever since
right
that playoff series in Vancouver, man, this has not been the same at all.
How about Jeremy Lauzon? He's been hurt for a little bit. He's been out of the game. I had a hard time picking one for Jeremy Lauzon.
Break his own hits record.
That would be cool. So guess what I put? I put a truckload of hits.
Similar.
Just let him keep. That's what he does best. That's what he's known for. He's never going to be anything too much more than that. Every now and then he can flash a good shot on net or get a little burst of speed and kind of like truck up the zone and kind of look flashy. But for the most part, he is who he is, and he's a guy who just hits the crap out of people. Yep. So I just went a truckload of hits. That's the first thing I thought of. Okay, Colton Sissons, literally I don't know. I have question marks, Max. I don't know what to get Colton Sissons for Christmas. He's like the relative or the long distance cousin or like the friend, or he's the person who you don't know what the hell to get them, so you get him a gift card.
And he does well with it.
So maybe I'll just get Colton Sissons a gift card to his favorite restaurant, because I really don't know what the hell to get him for Christmas. I have no idea. I'm speechless. And then finally, we left out a few players. If you want to throw in some more that I didn't mention, but my last one on my list is Brady Shea. And I put he gets nothing because he already got a fat contract from Barry Trotz.
He is not lived up to at all.
So he gets nothing.
Yeah.
Brady Shea gets nothing for Christmas.
I'll be okay with that.
He got his gift over the summer, and he's good. He doesn't deserve anything else. All right, so that's my list. That's what it's pretty rough there. Yeah. A lot of those are not very realistic, but if maybe the second line center one can happen for Stamkos. How about that?
Yeah, hopefully.
All right. Let's tell you about DraftKings real quick. We got a new offer going for you for DraftKings. The 2024-25 NHL season still has that new car smell, and the action is heating up at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started at DraftKings Sportsbook. Try betting on something simple like just picking a team to win. And if you're new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. And again, it's as easy as just picking a team to win to score on those $150 in bonus bets. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY. That's 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice. Copyright NHL 2024, all rights reserved. All right, what else we have? Let's do the Smashville stat of the week. And that is just how bad is this team compared to the other teams in franchise history. I did a Predlines article not too long ago when the Predators had played 24 games into the season. And there were only a couple teams that were worse off at that point in the season in this franchise's history. It was the expansion year of 1998-1999, and it was the 2002-2003 team where the team finished with 74 points overall, but started off really bad to open the season. And in fact, I'll pull up that team. That 2002-2003 Nashville Predators team started off the season 2-10-4 in their first 20. 2-10-4-4. That was when there was overtime losses and there were still ties. So you got points for both of those scenarios. So it's a little complicated then. But they only had 2 wins in their first 18 games of the season. So the Predators aren't that bad. At least they're not that bad. But you look at all the teams after 2003. After 2003, there is not a single team in Preds history that has started as poorly to a season as this current Nashville Predators team, with all the money they spent in free agency, with all of the talent they have on this roster. That, my friends, is why Nashville Predators fans are revolting. That's why they are ticked off. That's why every little thing this team does right now pisses them off, even if they don't show up to optional skates and optional practices. That's why this fan base is upset right now, and they have every right to be. It blows my mind. Never in a million years could I have imagined that after that offseason, this team would be the worst team since 2000, dating all the way back to 2003.
Yeah, just crazy.
I mean, and we're talking about these teams back then had no superstar talent.
No.
They didn't start getting the superstar level talent until when they got Paul Kariya a couple years later. That's when they started building perennial playoff teams, when they got Paul Kariya, Steve Sullivan, and guys like that. And they really started filling out the roster. And then, they started signing some big guys. But those early expansion years, that was what they were expected to be, was that bad. And they had every excuse to be because they didn't have any talent. You look at those teams from back then, they had no offensive playmakers. They had nothing. And so do we think this Preds team currently can pull themselves out of it and at least finish 80 to 90 points? Do you think that, going back to our opening face-off, do you think if they finished at the 80 to 90 point range, obviously that would not be good enough to make the playoffs? Do you think that'd be enough to salvage the season? Because to even finish with that many points this season, they're going to have to go on a serious run from here on out, even to get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's hard.
They're sitting at 20 points right now, Max. We are in December, and they're sitting at 20 points.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I don't know. And Johnny also texted me the 2002-03 season was when ownership guaranteed playoffs or season ticket holders would get a refund on their package increases.
The Preds historian is Johnny, otherwise known as Predemption on YouTube. He is a Preds encyclopedia. He is the Chat GPT version of Nashville Predators hockey. You ask him a question, he spits out the response, and he knows. So kudos to Johnny for jumping in there. Just the interesting correlation between those teams and how bad they were and this current team is that those early teams also struggled to score goals. They were usually towards the end, at the bottom of the league in goals per game. But they had Thomas Vokoun from the early days. They had Mike Dunham as their expansion goalie. And then they got Pecorine really quick after, not too long after that, a few years. But my point is, they had Vokoun was a great goalie in his day. People don't realize the early years of the Predators when they had got Vokoun was putting up a .91 save percentages. He was goals against averages were like around 2.5 goals per game. So those early Preds teams had great goaltending. They just couldn't score. And unfortunately, that is exactly what's happening now. We just could have never imagined that it could have happened with a Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault and Philip Forsberg and Roman Josi and Ryan O'Reilly and Gus Nyquist and all these guys, and this team can't score. Yeah. It's just this is why fans want Andrew Burnett fired, because they think it has to be the coach. It can't be the players. You look at this team on paper, it's like, how is this possible? It has to be the coach. It has to be the coach. But it's much more complicated than that, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So with that, we are going to round out episode 253 with our battle for the Central Power Rankings. So let's get that ready to put on the screen for everybody. And Max, how about you start while I put mine on the screen? Okay. How about you start with your number one team and start working through your rankings? And then I'll put mine on the screen.
I'm sure with you, there's been a change in my number one. Winnipeg no longer move over. It's Minnesota taking the number one spot.
Oh yeah, I mean you can't argue against them anymore. You know, they have made me eat some crow for sure. I think they made a lot of people eat some crow though, because I saw a lot of preseason predictions who had them like number 6 or number 7 in the division. So they're one of the biggest surprises of the league.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Okay, so they're your number one team. All right, who's your number 2?
2, Dallas Stars, number 2.
And I'm putting mine on the screen right now, and we'll see if we already agree with each other, 1 through 2. This is, of course, for all of our YouTube and Facebook viewers. If you're listening on one of our podcast platforms, then, of course, you can watch our episodes live on YouTube. Go hit subscribe and check it out right now. All right, so there's my rankings, and I didn't share mine with Max. So right now we are in full agreement with number 1 and number 2. I also have the Minnesota Wild. I also have the Minnesota Wild at number 1 at 16-4-4 on the season, 36 points. I moved the Minnesota Wild up from number 4 to number 1 in my rankings. So obviously I was not a believer in Minnesota that much the last time we did these rankings, but now I am. I cannot deny them anymore. Watching the Minnesota Wild play for the first time against the Predators the other night, I was thoroughly impressed by that team. They skate really well. They're deep. They play connected, something the Predators cannot do right now. The Minnesota Wild, they play connected hockey. I mean, they are all on the same page. I wasn't sure about their goaltending, but because Gustafsson was an awful goalie last year. He was an underperforming goalie last year. He is playing a lot better for them. They've got a lot of offensive firepower. They got a lot of young talent that's really stepping up for them right now. So it's a no-brainer. I got Dallas number 2 as well. Max, I thought you were going to put Winnipeg number 2. I'm kind of surprised that you went Dallas number 2.
You know what's going to surprise you even more? And I hate to kind of spoil it. We have the exact same rankings this week.
And I swear, people, we never share rankings.
Talk about this. We have
this is the
same rankings.
This is either our 4th or 5th rankings of the season, and we've never had a complete agreement.
That is exactly how I had mine.
All right, there you have it. So we will go ahead and go through the rankings then. We don't even have to. So number 3, me and Max got the Winnipeg Jets. Or let's go with Dallas first. Dallas number 2, 16-8-0 on the season. I think Dallas is really about to start hitting their stride here really soon. They're the veteran team of the division. I feel like
they're the heavyweight. They're the heavyweight of the division.
They've been playing together for a long time. They're well coached. They check every box in terms of they're good at every position. They don't really have a strong weakness on their team. Yeah, they're good at everything. They're really good at everything. Yeah. So they're number 2 right now. Number 3, we got Winnipeg Jets. That is a 3-headed monster, though. Let me tell you right now. For the division.
I thought about putting Winnipeg lower a little because they haven't been playing well, but I couldn't go lower number 3. I still got to honor what they did before.
Yeah. I had Winnipeg number 1 in our last rankings. I've moved them down to number 3. They're 18-7-0, 36 points. Remember how quick they started off the season, 15-1, I believe. And since then, they've gone 3-6.
Yeah.
So they've definitely cooled off since that, winning 15 of their first 16 of the season.
Yep.
Number 4, I got the Colorado Avalanche. And I mean, they're just the sleeping giant, but until they can really settle their goaltending situation, You can't put them ahead of those other three. I can't let them crack the top three when they don't have goaltending figured out.
Yeah. I mean, they haven't really moved past that middling spot this year. So yeah.
No, and they are starting to slowly get healthy again too.
Yeah, true.
But the Avalanche are one of those teams that you're not going to be able to truly judge them until the playoffs start.
Right.
They're a team that can get hot at the right time as long as their goalies can not be a complete disaster. They've got the offensive firepower to score 4 or 5 goals and overcome bad goaltending. That's the difference between them and what the Predators are doing right now. The Predators aren't scoring, so they can't overcome even one bad night from their goalie. Whereas the Avalanche, they can overcome bad nights in between the pipes. Yeah. But only on so many occasions. That's why they're 13-12-0. That and injuries. They dealt with a lot of injuries. Yep. So I got them number 4. This is where the rankings got really tough for me. So that's why I can't believe, Max, that me and you agreed on it, because I just feel like all these teams are really extremely mediocre once you get past the Avalanche. It's a very watered down division once you get past the Avalanche, in my opinion.
Yeah, the toughest for me was 4, 5, and 6. None of them have really done much to kind of move the needle, so I kept that the way it was, and that's how the standings look too, as far as where they are. I only put the Preds ahead of the Blackhawks because the Preds have at least managed to lose recently in overtime.
Yes. And they did beat way back when the Predators did. One of their 7 wins is against the Blackhawks.
Yeah, that was a while ago, so that wouldn't really affect these rankings, but yes.
But yeah, so the St. Louis Blues, we got number 5, 11-12-2, 24 points. They're a very average team. Yeah. We haven't seen them yet head-to-head with the Predators, but, they're one of those teams where they got some decent talent. They're just a very average team, and it reflects it in the standings. Could they maybe be a bubble wild card team? Possibly, but they're just a hard team to figure out. Utah Hockey Club, I think, in the end, could maybe finish higher than St. Louis. But as of right now, Utah Hockey Club has really been they've not been trending well lately at all. And so they're 10, 11, and 4 on the season, 24 points. That moved them back from number 5 to number 6. The Predators, I moved from number 6 to number 7 since our last rankings. They are 7, 12, and 6. 3 straight overtime losses, 20 points on the season, but I got to keep them ahead of the Blackhawks, which isn't saying too much. And then, of course, number 8 is still the Blackhawks. They're 8, 15, and 2 on the season for 18 points. So there you have it. There's the battle for the Central Power Rankings to open December.
Yep.
And with that said, Max, I think we are going to have to close it out for episode 253 of Catfish and Ice. It's been a good one. Let's hope that in episode 254, we've got a couple or a few Preds wins to react to. But until then, we are going to sign off here and stay connected with us on our social media accounts at Catfish Ice on X and Twitter, on YouTube. Hit comments, hit subscribe. And we love to hear from you through that in between episodes. Until then, thanks for listening, everybody. This has been Catfish and Ice, episode 253 with Chad Minton and Max Greenberg. And we will see you soon. We have been brought to you by DraftKings and Game Time, and we're part of the Hockey Podcast Network. Take care, everybody.
See you guys later.